Welcome everyone to Grape Finance almost weekly AMA. Today we have Dave who's up really early. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
And we have LB who's up a bit later. Good morning, LB. Good evening, LB. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey everyone, good to be here as always. Thanks for listening in.
Yeah, definitely. And I am here as well, and it's just past noon. So I think we've got that all covered, like all the time zones. And with that said, let's just jump into the questions. Or do you first want to say anything about the state of grape, as it were? Do you want to do that at the end, LB?
Well, I don't know. I guess we can mention something now. I guess well, I mean, we had a bit of a sell-off, but we had a really good recovery, like amazing recovery, uh,
Yeah.
in a day essentially. I mean, it shows the strength of the community because that's what a an algorithmic protocol is essentially, or seniorage
Yeah.
protocol. It relies on the community. It's a game theory experiment, you could say, and does rely heavily on the community to keep it operating in a sense of maintaining a peg, maintaining people following the strategy. Obviously, it's team effort to keep the protocol alive, as in running new things coming up, education coming out. Um, but it is really down to the community because I think 90%, 95% of the liquidity is owned by the community. Um, there wasn't in Tomb Forks. There's not like a sale, like a pre-sale or anything like that bootstraps liquidity. So it's not like a lot of other protocols in that respect. It really is kind of more like a really community driven protocol, and that's why I really like it. It's kind of emphasizes what DeFi is about, which is the individual, essentially permissionless, the individual taking responsibility for their own actions, but also working together as a team,
Yeah.
as a community, um, to for the benefit of the whole community, essentially.
Yeah, and
So
I
yeah.
also just I saw that the price, it dropped to 71 cents or so, and that was where the community was just not having it. Like, hey, we can go below pack, that's okay, but no, we're not gonna drop to 71 cents, bro. And then there was this spectacular V-shaped rise again, which actually put the high a little lower um, than what it was before the fall. So that I think is really beautiful because that is such a beautiful bullish sign. And then it dropped off a little bit, but it set a very solid higher low. And now it's forming a bit of a bull flag or bull pennant or whatever those things are called. Um, so yeah, that is absolutely wonderful, also from a TA point of view, really. And it shows pretty recovery, and I think it will continue this way. Yeah, because people just there has also been a lot of wine bought, or at least
Mm,
being bought back, right? Because wine made sort of the same thing, but even more extreme, really.
mm, mm,
And like all of those people that bought a lot of wine are just probably not going to stand for it. That wine is not printing, right? So that
mm,
that there will be influx into grape. But what I really, really like is that um, people seem to be, except for this V-shaped recovery, right, which was totally warranted, by the way, because 71 cents is ridiculous. But what I really like is that people are taking this idea of let's just not sell and let's just DCA in, so that we won't get wrecked by pump and numbers and stuff. People are taking that pretty seriously, and I really like that. Um, and
yeah.
this is also something I think I'd like to touch on a little bit. Um, like bumpers and dumpers, and the other way around, like dumpers and then buyers, I suppose, because that's what they do, right? They dump so they can get it cheap. That only works if you follow the buys and follow the sells. Like if a big buy comes in and you start buying as well, that's how it works. And if you start selling when a big sale happens, that's how it works. It's this emotional following, like, hey, I'm gonna do that too, even though then essentially you're already not making your own decision anymore. Like you should always just base your decision on what you personally feel is a good price. Um, which is not this, by the way, but it's we're getting there. We're getting back. Um,
Yeah.
but with that being said, let's go to the questions. Hey, Grapists. I'm not sure how I feel about Grapists. It comes about a little bit.
A little
it,
close,
it,
yeah.
yeah, it's a bit close to where we don't want to be, right? I always go with grapes. um, I'm curious about the collateral. This is Neat Beef, by the way. It says, I'm curious about the collateral that might be introduced. If stablecoins can be borrowed against nodes or pools as collateral, and those stablecoins are then used and swapped/sold, will that drive the value down and put the economy at risk? I I don't think so. It would drive the value up, actually. Should. But there's a lot in this sentence that needs to be taken apart, right? Because
Yeah.
borrowing against nodes is, I think, not what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of because there's, I mean, it's hard to actually to have that implemented the way it is, because the nodes aren't something that can just be liquidated. If when you're taking out a loan, you're in the decentralized world, you are putting up collateral, and you're over collateralized, so you have to put up a more collateral than you borrow. Essentially, is what that means, and because it means that because it is decentralized, it has to have more collateral, because if you go below a certain threshold, um, liquidators need to come in and they need full access to your collateral in order to sell it to pay back your loan. And if you had it as nodes, like you couldn't, because the node itself isn't like it's producing grapes or whatever token, but you essentially don't have access to the full amount, which you would
Can't be
need. So you
transferred.
don't. Yeah. So you can't liquidate that for the token you borrowed, essentially. So if you used grape nodes, for example, you have the node, you buy one grape node, you got 50. Essentially, you put in 50 grapes. Like it would be cool if you could borrow, say 50% LTV, so you could borrow 25 grapes worth of a stable coin. But it's not possible, because you essentially are not putting up 50 grapes. You're putting 50 grapes into the contract, and then you're getting daily grapes back. But for a loan to actually work on that, you would need someone to have complete access in a decentralized way to that those 50 grapes in order to sell for whatever you borrowed, stablecoin, whatever. And it's so in that regard, it's not actually possible for nodes.
But
I
he
guess
said
what
nodes/pools. So pools
yeah
actually is possible, right?
yeah. So what we'll do is we'll do the grape single stake using the auto vault token preferably is the idea there, so that we can it's essentially it's selling the wine, but it's buying more grape at the same time, and increasing your underlying position as collateral, so that you can essentially borrow more over time if grape stays the same price, because your collateral is growing. So that's the idea in that. But that is possible because you're actually putting up the full amount of tokens, as in those tokens are fully liquid as collateral, whereas a node is not liquid. It cannot be sold as a node. But the tokens from the pool can be sold if you're at threat of liquidation. I guess what was the second part to this question? The stable coins. So you borrow against grape, say, for instance, you borrow some stable coin, and then those stable coins are sold.
Yeah,
well,
that won't drive the value down at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you can do whatever with whatever token you borrow.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
issue here is it's a bit hard to follow where this line of thought comes from. So it's hard to explain exactly why this isn't the case, because I don't really know why you think it would be. But what I can try and do is just reiterate what it's likely gonna be. So, for example, is grape right now is at 89 cents. If you then put your grape up as collateral and you're allowed to, for example, loan against 20% of that, you would be able to, oh man, that a little over a little under 20 cents per grape, right? And if you loan that, that stablecoin is just the value of that stablecoin. And it doesn't really change, right? If you then sell that stablecoin, or depending on how you look at it, buy something else with it, you would still have the exact same loan, and you would have to buy that stablecoin back to get your loan relinquished. Or you can wait until your grape appreciates via its daily APR, or perhaps simply because its value increases, which increases the amount of loan you can take. This is what is going to happen, and how that would increase the loan instead of devalue. How would it increase value instead of devalue it, is because it would no longer be necessary to sell your grape to take some profits, right? You can just keep your grape and take some profits. And at the same time, the people who are loaning out their stable coins are also taking some profits, because you're paying them to loan. So it's just a different system, really, but there is no devaluation involved, actually. It should actually increase in value. Maybe I was a bit long on that, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you were doing something like maybe Yeti or Abracadabra, like Mim, where you mint a token, you mint a stable coin by using some collateral.
That's different.
That's a different thing. We're not doing that. We're doing more like a Aave style, where you borrow in a pool, a different stablecoin. You're not minting a stablecoin. If you mint a stablecoin using collateral, you're essentially shorting that stablecoin, because then you'll either use it to leverage your position, so you'll sell it, buy the token again as collateral, put it as collateral, buy mint more of the stablecoin, sell it again, and so on. Because you're constantly selling the token, it's obviously putting downward pressure on that. But this is a different. We're not doing that. So yeah.
Yeah, we're not borrowing grape, so you're not
Yeah.
gonna borrow grape and be able to dump it.
That
Yeah.
also, yeah, that's also important to note. All right, good. Let's move on to the next one. Peter Flea says, suggestion, make NFT and only Y-Note holders get some free spins on slots, like the Miniverse free spins. If you've spoken to Nate yet, LB, this will create buy pressure for Y-Notes again. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I guess we've ended the wine notes now anyway. But there's still a list of wine noters, and we can offer some, like, as they're going to get 10 tickets per is it what, per wine node for the NFT airdrops. As like a like a payback essentially, for the wine nodes. But I mean, I've been speaking to Nate, but Nate has been quite busy making a couple new games that will be coming out very soon for Grape. I'm pretty sure he already has them.
Yeah,
on
I'm working on
Miniverse.
the graphics for them.
Yeah,
Do we want to tell them? I can tell them.
yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, so it's going to be a coin flip game and a dice roll game. So it's just another
Nice.
sort of casino style
Yeah,
game.
yeah. To add to the slots, and so I guess, I mean, that's what Nate has been working on. So that's kind of why we haven't done, I guess, Node free spins or the NFT free spins. I mean, that's something that we can definitely do. But maybe we also add some other bonuses to these games. I don't know. We'll think about it, and we'll probably do something for that, and the wine noders as well.
Yeah, and to kind of explain why the wine notes sort of the people who have wine notes sort of deserve something extra or should to be compensated a little bit. If you by now I've made wine notes in the very beginning, so I'm one of those, and I've added to those a little bit, but mostly it's just wine notes in the very beginning. And I have not gone to 100% back. And that's okay, of course. It's the risk you're taking. It's the game you're playing. However, if I would have all that wine that I put into notes and just had it in the winery, I would have had so much grape. And that is what all the wine noters have not have had. Um, and of course, this whole thing is not for me. It's for the wine noters in total. But I'm just using myself as an example because that's easy. So the wine noters have been yeah, well, not been as profitable as other strategies. So I had nothing to do with the decision making of creating more tickets for wine noters, but I'm very happy with it. Thank you, LB.
Just as
Um,
like introductory thing, we'll do. I'll keep the list of the wine noters, and we'll do other stuff for them as we see
ooh,
fit.
that's nice. Um, Anyway, yeah, and then Felix says it's a good idea, but Edge says, will any of the treasury be used to get us back to PAG? Oh, this returns this question. Yeah, that's actually centralized returning to PAG, right? We'd like to avoid
Yeah,
that.
it's kind of it's not really a seniorage protocol's goal to do that. I mean, some of them do it, like I guess Toxic Deer. I think Raging Bull tried it. I guess the DAO's funds are there to support the protocol, and that includes expanding feature sets and utility for the protocol, maintenance of the protocol to keep it running. Obviously marketing to expand its reach. All those things cost money. And partly as well, we have done buybacks in the past. They generally don't work out well. They generally work out to become extra liquidity and just a complete waste of money. Unfortunately, that's how it works with that. But we can use it to support like the recovery on an uptrend to kind of like assist the movement forward. But it's not something that we can do or we should do really to like, this is the price that we buy back because it's kind of like we don't have endless funds for that.
That's the
You
thing, right?
need,
We can't
yeah.
really do that.
So yeah, it's either like we have a limited amount of money, so it's we have to budget that. And so what's it best spent on? Buying back all the grape in existence, which we can't do because there's like 4 million grapes, and we don't have $4 million. Or expanding the utility and the feature set and building it out, and expanding marketing and building a nice platform for people to use. But the LC funds as well, part of that will be used for a buyback and burn, because that's part of the I guess the what we signed up for, as in that's kind of what partners with tokens have to do. And we may assist on an uptrend to kind of get us back up there to peg. But in terms of like the goal of the DAO isn't to support the peg. It's kind of a community effort to do that, and the DAO's goal is to make sure that there's utility built around the token so that it can actually, there's an actual demand for the token at points where it can support the inflation that comes up and support the actual peg price being the value of the actual token. So yeah, that's kind of the idea.
And of course, there are a lot of protocols right now who have an LMS, like a liquid management system, where the token gets automatically sold at a certain price and then rebought at another price. But then you could say, hey, we support a certain minimum price at up to as far as that treasury lasts, because that's also the case. But then at least you have a scheme to build up the treasury. For example, if we would say, hey, we will aggressively sell a grape at 140 and then build up a treasury with that. And then when grape falls below 95, we will aggressively buy until it's 95 again. Like if we do something like that, then there is a system in place that everyone is, at least conscious about. And then there is a treasury that holds that up until it's empty. But our protocol is not built that way. And that doesn't mean that it's entirely impossible to do that maybe in the future, but it's not built that way. And as such, we should not be buying back because as you said, we don't have the funds. That would just be silly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different protocol then. It's
yeah,
it's not a tomb fork, essentially. It's a different thing then.
Yeah, it would become a different thing then, or it is a different thing. Those protocols are different, or they do it differently, right? So, Snorkipie says, are we going to be able to use Magic Farm receipts as collateral in Vinium? That's a very direct and good question.
Yeah, that's that is the idea. We'll use the grape vault initially. Maybe we add the grape meme, but that's kind of also more suited to the leverage yield farm that will come after.
The wine mint?
But the LPs, the LPs.
Yeah.
But initially looking to have grape on there in the single stake in the vault, so that it's kind of like an auto repaying loan in that sense. And then obviously in the Magic Vault, because they're good partners, and it's a buyback and burn bonus feature as well. So yeah. That's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
So it's exactly that. Very good, Snorky Pie. Mark Larms just watched the latest video on YouTube and loved it, by the way. Yeah, which one was that though? Was that the last AMA? Maybe, I'm not sure. If people, or maybe it was Felix's video. Anyway, thank you. If people are able to leverage Grape Mim LP, can they short it too? Would that then mean the price for Grape will no longer be pegged to Mim, as it would be profitable for some people to make the price decrease? Yeah, that's exactly what we're not going to do.
Yeah. The is in terms like a leverage farm. We're planning not to do that. You'll either borrow a stable coin and then have to zap in to the pool yourself. But and then zap into the pool and then loop around again, essentially is the idea. Or as part of like an alpaca sort of deal where you can borrow both the tokens, but they go straight into the farm anyway. So it's a bit different. It's not like you're borrowing it to short the token specifically. You're borrowing it to farm the token, and both of those in the LP, which is a little bit different.
All right. Matiyahu says, how will this ROI airdrop thing work for the wine nodes exactly? Probably you'll just up the claim, right? So that you can just claim it fully. Or what will happen? This is my guess. It's like that the wine noders will be made whole. That your recent announcement, right?
Oh yeah. Where it's essentially just, I can look at the contract in each address and see you've deposited this amount, and I can see how much you've claimed as well. So it's whatever you've deposited minus the claims is obviously the remainder of what you need to be made whole. And that obviously includes compounding as well, because when you compound, you are claiming, but you're also depositing. So it works the same. It's basically just deposit amount minus claim amount equals what you're going to get.
Yeah. And will people get that airdropped, or will it be added to the claimable amount?
Yeah, I'm airdropping it to people over the next couple of days. I'm just waiting to get enough wine available, because there's a little bit of wine to airdrop, but we should have enough very soon to do it. And I'm just collecting the data. I'm pretty sure I've processed all that, so I think I know exactly who's going to get what, and so we'll do that very shortly. End of the week, by the end of the week.
Awesome. Saint says, what happens with the Grape tokens used in the play to earn game? My understanding is that you can use Grape in the initial mint of the game's NFTs. How does that tax work? Does this Grape get burned, placed in the Treasury, noted, saved for rewards in game? And then you can also use a new token vintage in conjunction with Grape to complete upgrades and such. Same question. What's the plan with the Grape used in game?
Yeah, a couple of things. Grape is going to be, obviously you can mint the NFTs with Grape initially. You can also mint with AVAX, so it's up to you what you want to do. there'll be 10,000 NFTs in the collection, and 2,700 of them will be for the current NFT holders, and they'll be for free. So 2,700. So each NFT holder that has an NFT now gets one free mint of the new NFTs, of the game NFTs, so to say, and then the remainder are for mint in AVAX or Grape. So that's the first thing, and then in the game as ongoing, you can obviously you earn a token called vintage, like a vintage wine, and the more vintner NFTs you have, the more vintage you can earn per minute, essentially. So
Yeah, and then
you
also the vintners get tired and stuff, right? So you need to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
manage their working and stuff like that.
You can't just set it and forget it. You have to. It's an active. There's a bit of strategy as well. You can there's skill levels, skill points that can give you unique benefits. Allow you to stake more vintner NFTs to earn more vintage. Reduce penalties. Increase the speed at which you can yield as well. And those skill points or the levels that you get in the game can only be you can only level up using Grape. So you need to pay Grape or burn Grape to level up your profile, essentially. And there's also several tools to make your character or your characters be able to earn more vintage as well. So you can pair a vintner with a tool to earn more vintage, and then if you have certain skills, you can stake higher level tools to earn more vintage. So it kind of all comes around to you want to be the best, or you want to be a master winemaker and earn as much vintage as possible in as short amount of time as possible. So you need to manage your vintners, your skill points, your skill tree. It's kind of what you want to focus on as well, and the tools that you have for it, so that you can earn more vintage. And so the tools will be able to be minted in. They're going to require the vintage token and Grape to mint, and they'll be limited as well. But we'll kind of do like the pizza game, where we'll start with a few tools and then release new tools every now and then. And obviously the skill points as well. Or the skills, the levels, I should say, you level using Grape as well. So yeah, so Grape is incorporated through a number of ways. It's pretty core to the game. Like, you're going to need to use Grape if you actually want to make good use of the game, really. If you want to be good at the game, if you want to earn a lot of vintage, you want to be a master winemaker, you're going to need to have some Grape with you, which makes sense, because you want to make good wine, you need some good grapes,
right? Hey, and so that kind of answers part of the question, right? Where Grape gets burned through the game. He also asked, like, is the grape that is used in the initial mint, will that get burned as well? Was his question as well?
yeah, well, I mean, I guess it will just go to the DAO for now. I mean, that's technically like a burn, and going to the DAO's wallet is kind of like the same thing, you could say. Like, it's out of circulation is the point. It's only going to be used, the DAO uses it to for things that benefit the protocol, either to like boost the node pools in certain times, for partner pools as rewards, to add to liquidity if needed. So essentially, like, burning the token and sending it to the DAO as non-circulating supply is really the same thing.
Temporarily non-circulating, because then if you use it for incentives, it gets back into circulation, but not all of it, right? That's
Yeah,
just a
sure, but
tiny part
it's
of it.
also it's like it's like you have the benefit of being able to use it. Then you burn it, it's burned. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
If it's not
And it's
part of the
gone.
liquidity, if it's not part of the liquidity, well, then it doesn't reduce price impact, and it doesn't, make the price go up just because there's less supply.
Yeah, I mean, you can
And
certainly
oh, sorry, go ahead.
certainly say it's not going to be sold under peg or near peg or anything like that. So
Yeah, obviously, the
definitely
DAO is
good.
that's it. So we obviously know what's the DAO is going to act in the best interest of the protocol. It's not going to sell below the peg. Generally, it's going to sell maybe here and there at 1.1 and above, small portions daily, in a healthy position, but not like close to peg or below peg, or if there's kind of like a lot of selling pressure that day, it's not going to add to that.
Just like the strategies, really, the DAO has been
Yeah.
following the strategies all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to set the example. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I also wondered, vintage, is there any mechanism? I've recently brought up in the background, like, ideas to bring up the price of all of our tokens, but is there any initial idea to bring the price of vintage up again? Like, I mean, people can earn it, so then they will probably sell it, but will it also go up in some way?
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, it is an inflationary token. You do have to use it to mint the tool NFTs so that you
All
can.
right, so it gets used to, so you need to also buy it to use it again, right? So it's
Yeah,
a
you
back
have
and
to.
forth. Yeah.
And there is an LP that you can join if you want, and you will be incentivized to become an LP as well, and that's obviously the vintage, and I think we'll do a stablecoin LP with that as well, and then you can also stake the vintage token as well, and earn other people's vintage token that they get from unstaking their or when they claim, essentially. So you can stake it and earn other people's claims, like a so depending on your level, there is I guess a tax or a fee. It's kind of like, hey, you're a low level character, some of the vintage that you've earned is spoiled, so
And that
it's
then
going,
goes to the better ones.
yeah, it goes to the people that have earned vintage and then staked it in a different pool. So if you don't want that, well, then you have to level up your character to not have to reduce that amount of spoil you get
Right.
from claiming.
Right. Well, that also answers Sam's question. Like, can we have PvP in the upcoming P2E game? Well, it's inbuilt.
It's
It already is.
technically, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
The entire thing is sort of a soft PvP.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're versus everyone.
Yeah, you have to be. You're gonna have to be the master winemaker. I mean, there's maybe some things we can add down the line as well. Like, it's it's an initial game, and we can monitor how people play it, and then add things down the line with new features and whatnot. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. Chenkle Fix It says, are nodes going to have utilities in Vinium? Hope that can be used as collateral, give other special boosts to noders. Well, the last part of that question might be answered. Like, are there going to be any other special boosts to noders? Because, yeah, they're not going to be used as collateral.
No, they're not. Maybe, I don't know, we're thinking about some sort of boost. I mean, keep in mind the nodes are the highest yielding thing in the platform.
So they kind of boost themselves already.
They're like they're pretty, you get the most yield from the nodes. That's the
Yeah.
incentive there. Obviously, it's a sunk cost, but it is also very easy to use compared to being adding to it, being an LP and then manually compounding or whatever. There's kind of, and then like looping it back in and all this sort of stuff. But it's easy to use, and then it's also has the highest yield. It is a sunk cost. That's the drawback of the nodes there. But yeah, there's always something that we could probably do for noders as well. But you won't be able to use as collateral. That's something that
Yeah, that
you
doesn't
can't
work.
really do. Yeah.
No. All right. And then the Twitter questions that were added. The capital investor says, what external revenue will the project have outside of new people joining the project? Sustainability, like, are we going to have external revenue?
Well, we're going to, our core feature is likely the lending system, and that has a spread, just like a bank. I mean, I don't like banks, but this is, at least a decentralized option, and it offers an actual service. Well, you can borrow, you can front collateral and earn a yield, which is paid through people borrowing. So it's not paid through inflation or anything like that. It's paid through an actual service of people supplying and then borrowing from that supply, and the protocol earns a spread from that. It's essentially a portion of the difference from that, plus some liquidation spread as well. And that's it doesn't rely on new people, so to say, but it's also kind of like you need new people. It doesn't matter even if you're a company and you have your provided product, like you need new people to keep your company alive. If you don't have any customers, if you don't have repeat customers or new customers, your company dies. It doesn't matter if you have you offer a product that actually does something that you can make a profit on. If nobody wants to buy it, like, it's a dead company.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing, like.
And that's also the question with Dutch is. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say anything else on that?
No. I mean, that's I guess that's kind of it. Like, we'll have a lending system which will offer non-inflationary rewards, which is what we have now. Is in the vineyard, it's an inflationary reward. Wine is emitted from the contract, and that's the reward. It's inflationary. But with the lending system, there's at least a service that people offer, that we offer, that has a revenue based on that, inside that, by offering that service. But you suffer from the same thing. It's like, if the service isn't good and people don't want to use it, well, then you don't get any revenue anyway. So that's why we need to make the service good. It's still the same problem.
Yeah. Well, there's a similar question here from Dutchness. I feel.
Yeah.
I feel my Dutchness coming up. What will happen when no new people enter Grape Finance? This is sort of the question, right? Like, is this a Ponzi? Because a Ponzi obviously pays old investors with the new. Well, it's an interesting question though, because we are a seniors protocol, and the thing is, new people or no might be interesting. It's actually about new money or no new money, because old people can bring in new money. So that's a repeat customer, right? I would say if nothing happens, like nothing gets sold and nothing gets bought, then there's an increase in value because that is what Seniorage does. Like the new tokens, just get minted, and there will be more of those tokens. And since they won't get sold, they will just accumulate. And as such, what happens when no new people enter Grape Finance, but also no leave, or when no new money enters Grape Finance and also none leaves, then eventually it's just going to accumulate in value, I would say. However, that would be it would become sort of a precipice, right? Because the value would increase, but at the same time, there would be like a single cell could mean a lot then at some point. However, there's more to the protocol. It's not just the seniorage. There's also all of the games. So what if no new people enter Grape Finance, but people will use, for example, the games, which have burning mechanisms, which have deflationary mechanisms? Then some of that new value will also get used. And then there is the last part, which is now the Vinium, and as such, it will get reduced, sort of the accumulating value, but also it will make it safer again. And then there's the last part, the Vinium, where it can be all be put up again as collateral, right? So then it means that this increase in value will directly translate to people actually being able to borrow more because their collateral will increase in value. So essentially what you're getting, if no new people enter Grape Finance or no new money enters Grape Finance, or no money leaves Grape Finance, then it will become a bigger and bigger and bigger bubble of value that people can borrow against, but it will become more and more unstable. However, it will actually increase in value and not decrease. So that's an interesting aspect of seniorage. It's sort of like maybe in that sense the opposite of a Ponzi, really. But yeah, it would still be a dangerous thing. So let's just get new people, right? Because that's better. And essentially what also any kind of token needs is it needs use cases. Like you need to be able to use Grape for stuff, whatever that stuff is. So that essentially what we need to achieve at some point is that I can make someone happy by sending them Grape. Like, hey, I want to buy your plants. Here's some Grape. If we can do that, then we have use cases because I can buy plants for Grape, right? Or whatever, or have someone do some carpentry in my house and I'll send them Grape. The more we get of those utility, the more it becomes a general currency, just like, for example, the dollar or the euro or whatever. Because if someone does carpentry, I give them euros. And what do euros mean? Nothing. It's just trust. It's trust that the euro has a certain value. So yeah, that's essentially what Grape also can be. It can be that trust that, hey, I'm getting grapes. I'm happy now because that has a certain value. Yeah, that on that actually. That's why we
Yeah, I mean,
increase.
yeah,
That's why we increase utility all the time to achieve that more and more and more.
yeah, essentially. I mean, that's what all money really is. has the ability to be used as, a medium of exchange. For other services. Like you don't actually use the money. Like you don't eat money. You don't use the money for sustenance or to like build a house. You exchange it for things that can do these things. And it's only because other people accept that item, because other people will accept it. Can you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And right now we already have some of that utility. Like for example, if someone gives me Grape, that means that I can play the Space Invaders like game, right? If people give me Grape, that whatever the value of Grape, even if Grape goes to 5 cents, I can still play that game with that Grape. So it has a certain intrinsic value already because of that game and because of the other games coming up. Like if I want to play that game, I need Grape. I don't need to sell that Grape. I just need the Grape, and then I can play the game. So I would say that's also why it's interesting to increase the amount of games that can be paid for by Grape. And the more we get of that, the better, I would say.
Yeah.
Not that we need to become a gaming protocol or whatever. Just it's examples. Right. I think we've come to the end of it. Let's see if there is anything in the live chat going on. Why don't we have $4 million? Well, William, because we don't.
Spent it all
We
on
have,
hard drugs.
yeah, we have not. Yeah, we have. If maybe if we would have aggressively sold at the expense of our investors, we would by now have $4 million and a very sad group of investors. But we didn't. So actually, if you go to the site, there is the Grape Finance site. And also, by the way, we're not laughing at you, right? It's just an interesting question. It's funnily asked, and I say funnily. Anyway,
I'm
if you
sure
go
it's
to this,
sarcastic though, I guess.
yeah. Maybe it was, yeah. If you go to the site, you can look at all of our where is it again? Where are our wallets? Oh yeah, wallets. It like on top, a little bit on the right, next to Doc's useful links, it says wallets, and then you can look at the Treasury, the DAO, and the notes rewards. That's the money we have, and there is no $4 million in them. All right. Meat Beef says, what can we learn from this time below PAG? Can we rely on community efforts to maintain PAG in future, or do we need a more hands-on interventionist approach going forward? Yeah, this is centralization essentially, right? There are a certain amount of protocols that do this centralization that sort of say, hey, we can't trust our investors. We're taking matters into our hands. So give us the money and we're going to manage it. That's a hedge fund or a managing fund, really. The funny thing is that this exact question, and that's why I have such a ready response, was discussed yesterday in the senior circus. Because there are actually a lot of protocols that are doing a bit of centralization, and that might be a good idea. It's not necessarily bad. For example, if you look at Horde, it has a lot of centralization there because the LMS is essentially centralization. If you look at US DEX, there's even more centralization there because there's a whole lot of things that the token holders can simply not access and not influence. They just have to trust that the system will pay them out eventually. And that's not necessarily bad. It's just a different approach. And with us, our seniors protocol is very much reliant on community common sense, as it were. But that also means that the community has a lot of control. It follows the ideals of centralization, decentralization a lot more.
Yeah, and I think, if our community has really kicked butt. I mean, if you look at the last 24 hours on Deck
Yeah.
Screener, there's twice as many buys as there are sells. And we do have, some grape burning stuff already in place with bonds and the grape burning in the auto compounder vaults. And then obviously in the future here with Vinium, we're going to have more funds to either build even more use cases, which then brings buy pressure from the community, or, if it just supports the peg itself.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what I also feel about that is that the community is showing a real amount of trust here in the future of the protocol, what we're going to bring out. Especially if you look at the wine shares, right? The wine shares are showing the trust because at this moment in time, wine is not giving you anything unless you maybe wine mimic. Then you would get some out of it. But other than that, the winery is at a standstill. It's not printing, and still it went up from 80, its low point of 80 all the way up to 186 or something, 190 even, and now it's at 150 where it's sort of stabilizing, not even creating new lower lows or anything. It's making a triangle. So that means that there are a lot of people who are simply not caring that wine is at the moment not printing, and trusting that it will print in the future and will show its value in the future again. And I think since that is going on, we are definitely recovering trust here, which I'm very happy about and very thankful for, because essentially that's what we need to be humble about, right? It's the community providing us with the trust to create something cool, because we cannot control it. We just need to, make cool stuff and hope people like it.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, maybe there's nothing to add there.
Yeah.
I always want to give you some time to respond to it, but sometimes there's just nothing to say, right? All right. I think that's about it. Do you have any afterburners, LB or Dave?
I mean, I guess we touched on it in the first part of the AMA. Community's done a really good job this week. Over the last week, we've got some cool things coming up. The wine press, our version of the detonator, will be coming very soon. We'll start with the wine mim LP because we want to build some liquidity there, and we also have the Grape Mim nodes, which kind of build liquidity in the main LP. We do have good liquidity in the main LP, so I think it's not like a priority. The wine mim is kind of lacking in liquidity, and that it means that we have high volatility in wine, which is goes both ways, good and bad.
Yeah.
But we'll start with the wine mim. There'll be a couple unique things with that as well. There'll be a lottery system where you can burn grape to buy tickets essentially for that, and that will launch pretty soon. Just finalizing some things on the UI for that, and then we'll launch that with the wine mim, and then if that goes really well, we'll try some of the other tokens, the main LP, maybe a new LP with a different pair, with a different coin pairing. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so that's coming up, and obviously the game that we spoke about already. I should have actually the docs for that pretty finalized very soon for that actually. which everyone can read if they want to read. If they want to read before, like some people don't want to read.
Some people actually do want to read.
Some people do. Yeah.
While livinglife.eth is typing, I want to say, hey, we've also the Grape community has raised over 200K in
Oh yeah.
in liquid capital pre-sale, and that is awesome so far, right? That it's still ongoing. That is absolutely awesome, but that actually means that there's over 40K that's going to come to the benefit of our protocol, and that then again means that there is over 20K that is going to be used directly for buyback and burn. So the earlier question, are we going to buy back and burn? Yes, but with that. However, not all at once. We're going to do it in a responsible way. However, it's going to be used for buyback and burn. Um, it's going to be a treasury that's going to run out, right? Because right now it would be over 20K. It would not be eternal. But it's definitely going to be used for that. So this is something in the future because of the awesome amount that people have raised in the liquid capital pre-sale. And
Yeah.
now I was hoping that livinglife.eth by now would be done. All right. Need to get there predominantly organically. Yeah, I completely agree. However, there's nothing really to say about that. You just agree, and we agree. I think we all agree, and then maybe we can stop this anyway. I think we should. So with that said, I would say thank you so much to the entire community for all that you are and all that you do. Stay awesome, and then we're gonna try and do that as well. And yeah,
Yeah.
let's
Thanks,
move on
everyone.
from here. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.
See ya.